Christmas 1815, and word had come from England. Wilberforce and his cause finally received the blessing of the king. We would be free. The slave ships stopped coming since 1807. It's about 10 years now since I've been with Massa, the Right Reverend Alexander Scott, here at Bailey Estate in St. Philip. Massa is never here. He lives in England. He left the estate in control of Colonel John Rycroft Best, who has plantations in Christchurch. He also left Mr. Thomas as manager of the estate. They put Baileys together with Wilshire's. It is a large property, and we work very hard on these plantations because these plantations are in debt and money has to go to England to pay the debt. Work is hard and getting harder all the time at this plantation. I am the ranger on the estate, and I am in charge of about 350 field slaves. One thing for sure, at Bailey's I run a very tight shift. We move at 6 a.m. and work steady until 9 a.m. Take a half-hour breakfast break, then push it right up to lunch at 1 p.m. Lunch, or like our Spanish neighbors say, siesta, would fresh us up to 3 p.m. and we would finish up the day's work at 6 p.m. Although I am a slave, my position as head ranger gives me privileges the others don't have. I have my own horse and I ride around the plantation. I have the right to travel, to organize dances and other events. These dances give us the opportunity to plan what we would be doing. We would arrange a dance where the noise would ensure that not even Massa's informers could have an ear or even a clue. Locally, at Bailey's, there are 5 others: King the Carpenter, Dick Bailey, the Mason, and 3 Johnnies: the Standard Bearer, the Cooper, and another Ranger. I was a part of a privileged slave class, usually made up of literate slaves who were skillful both in language and artistry. This group of privileged slaves could be found among persons who were skilled like carpenters, blacksmiths, and those who worked in the fields supervising 1st, 2nd, and 3rd gangs. Others included those who worked in the home like cooks, butlers, coachmen, and those who looked after the sick slaves. This made me a good candidate for the unofficial FRO, the Freedom Revolt Organization. Joseph P. Washington Franklin was a colored man who lived at Vineyard Plantation very close to Bailey's. He was in the habit of reading to us extracts from the newspapers of the day. Word had come that we will get our freedom. We had heard it in the news that the French people had their own revolution and had killed their king, and the Haitian revolution with Toussaint Louverture, so it was aware from discussions with Franklin that the people in Haiti had their freedom and we wanted ours too. If by Christmas 1815 and it did not come, we will have to fight for it. I was the chief organizer of this revolt, but I had to be quiet about it, so I gave roles to persons. John would spread news, and Nanny Greeks at Harrow Plantation was very militant and believed that we had to fight for our freedom. Now there were some Barbadian planters like the Lascelles family who owned many plantations. They were spending money to get rid of Mr. Wilberforce in the British House of Parliament because he was representing us. I made up my mind that the plantations owned by Mr. Lascelles would be attacked first in the revolt. The free-colored were more concerned about themselves than with helping us. They wanted to get their freedom and help the white people. So when a free-colored like Mr. Franklin was willing to work with us, we decided that after the revolt, we would make Mr. Franklin our governor. The whites were divided. The old plantation whites who had money and power had controlled the system for too long. They were now being challenged by the poor whites who wanted power as well. We as slaves wanted our rights too. And the only right we wanted was freedom, and the only way to get it was to fight for it. We knew it was difficult to win, but we were willing to sacrifice our lives. We had to plan properly. We arranged what was to be the signal for the revolt. We would start burning some trash heaps to alert those on standby in Christchurch, St. George and St. Philip. Most of the rebellion was located in these areas, and we felt that once we started, the entire island would join in because we outnumbered the whites dramatically. Easter 1816 was the date set for the rebellion. One meeting that really stands out to me was the one held at River Estate on Good Friday in April 1816. It was the final planning meeting. They even went ahead and named Washington Franklin the new governor. The plan was, Sunday Master cry for water, Monday he would cry for blood. I sent down my men to start the first battle at Lotus Plantation in Christchurch. 40 of the slaves were killed in this battle. We were surprised that they used black troops against us. Some of my men thought that we had the support of our brothers, but this turned out to be a deadly deception. News reached the militia's headquarters at the garrison approximately 2 a.m. the Sunday night, but the rallying of the troops could not be completed before 10 a.m. By then, fire was burning at many plantations in St. Philip. In Christchurch, these felt the first blow of the militia, which consisted of the 1st West India Regiment. St. John, St. George and St. Lucy were also ablaze. We outnumbered them many to 1, but they had the superior firepower. By the end of the fight, many lay dead and many more wounded, like Jose Marti in Cuba. I also paid the ultimate sacrifice in that battle. But the bravery of the slaves must be honored. They continued the fight until they finally were overpowered or captured. They still talk of me. In the Times, a Barbados newspaper, in 1876 they named the April 22nd to 24th, 1816 revolution after me, referring to it as the War of General Bussa. Plaques were placed at Otterson Plantation and Bailey's recognizing my contribution to the revolution. An emancipation statue was erected to honor me in 1985. Finally, some 180 plus years after that fateful weekend on April 16th, 1988, Mia Amor Motley, as Minister of Education, Youth Affairs and Culture, in a foreword said, "As we reflect on the significant strides in the many areas of societal endeavor, it is imperative that we create an environment that secures a place for persons who, by their efforts, have inspired others to high levels of achievement." On April 28th, 1998, under the Owen Arthur BLP government, my gigantic portrait was unveiled as the first of 10 national heroes of Barbados.